different today. I think that as a start, it's worth it if I tell you a bit of a story of how everything started up, so you can understand all the things better. And it's pretty quick, so no big deal, you will see. I think like 3 years. Let me just check one thing here. Beautiful. I think like 3 years and a half ago, I was in London for a traineeship in a hospital. I come from medicine as a background, and I was at Guy's Hospital in London for a traineeship in maxillofacial surgery. And while there, I was doing some research with a professor of mine down in Italy, Alberto Bedogni, on a pathology called bisphosphonates-related osteonecrosis of the jaw. Is a bad pathology of the jaw face. It's like, I mean, it can be locally invasive, like a cancer, but it's not that bad. Sorry. And the problem arose when I realized that there were so many different definitions of this pathology, bisphosphonate-related osteonecrosis of the jaw. So many. There were like 30, 40 different definitions of this pathology. And when I was studying it, I realized that so many different research teams were using different definitions to perform their studies. Basically, in Europe, we were using, and we are still using, the definition by Alberto Bedogni, that professor of mine, and this research group. But for example, in the United States, they're using a completely different definition of this pathology, the one provided by the American Association of Maxillofacial Surgery. In Asia, they use another definition again, in Australia, another again, and so on and so on. There were so many different definitions. Where the problem arises, the problem is actually pretty much simple, and is this one. Consider now two research teams that, and you can see my slide here, that are trying to find an answer to the same question, like what's the best treatment for this pathology, BROJ. They must start, as you can expect, from the definition of the pathology itself, and they can choose among a list of definition, which is 30, 40 definitions long. Consider now that the American team will choose the definition by the American Association of Maxillofacial Surgery. The European team will choose the one by Alberto Bedogni and other, and they will go on composing the study, right? What's the problem now? The problem is that at the very end of the process, they do not have to choose just that definition, but also all the other definitions that one needs to use to compose a research paper. For example, in any medical research paper, there is mostly in I mean, it's a very common definition that is chosen to evaluate any treatment that is being studied, or any pathology, and blah blah blah, which is the definition of quality of life. Now, I told you about the problem regarding the definition of BROJ. There are 30, 40 different definitions. With regard to the definition of quality of life, we have 1,000 and a half different definitions. Imagine 1,000 and a half different definitions of quality of life are being used in. It's incredible. What's the problem of all this? The problem is that when different research teams, in our case, the American and the European research teams, are using different definitions, the research studies will end up being completely incomparable. Totally incomparable, as you can see here, right? So if anyone is choosing a different definition, so you cannot compare at the very end of the process the two research studies. And in our case, the American team the study by the American team is not comparable with the study by the European team. And what's the result of all that? I'm not sure if you ever asked yourself why, for example, we have so many different guidelines. We are in 2020 and still we have the American guidelines for the treatment of a pathology. We have the European guidelines, but even narrower, we have, for example, the UK guidelines, the Italian guidelines, and so on and so on. Why? Because we are using different ingredients in different countries. The American team is using, in our example, but it's not just, it's real life. It's not just an example. A thought experiment, it's real life. They are using a different mix of definition in comparison to the European team. And as I was telling you, at the very end of the process, you're not able to compare them. So you're not able to come up with one single univocal answer. So basically, when we have in research the same research query that is that different research teams are trying to answer, we come up with tons of different possibilities, and these possibilities are not comparable in most of the cases. Really, in most of the cases, I'm not sure if of a pretty famous research paper was published in 2005 by PLOS. The paper was authored, the main author was John Ioannidis, and he basically listed the title of the paper was "Why Most of the Research is Wrong," and he was providing amongst the reasons why most of the research paper are wrong or inconclusive, since you cannot come up with one univocal answer, right? So you have so many different possibilities, and many are wrong, and just a few are right. Basically, he was listing among the possibilities the problem of we are using so many different for the same objects, for the same entity that we are describing. This is the problem that gave birth to Qeios, the fact that we have so many different ingredients, variants of ingredients that we are using to compose our studies. And the problem, as you can now maybe realize, is huge, is really huge. The fact that we do not create consensus in most of the cases is a big problem in research, as you can imagine, right? At the very end of the process, the fact that different countries have different guidelines means that we are not treating in some countries at the best of possibilities. This is the problem, and actually it's just the first part of the problem. The second part of the problem, maybe you are more familiar with. It deals with how academic publishing works, and the problem that involves the quality check that academic journals are performing. Research composed in the way I told you, so basically made of different building blocks, different ingredients. So is really we can consider part of the research that is composed this way as flawed from the very beginning, right? Because the set of ingredients was not the best possible on the market, and this research is now submitted to academic journals. What do these academic journals perform? What's their job? It's basically the one. It's basically the one to invite peer reviewers to check the quality of the research papers, right? So once you submit your research paper to a journal, they invite at maximum 3 peer reviewers, can be 1, 2, or at max 3 peer reviewers to check the quality of your study. I mean, they strive to find to forecast for some impact that study can have in the future, even though, as we know now, I mean, figuring out at a specific point in time what is going to be the impact of a scientific paper is not that easy. I mean, there were many famous examples of Nobel prizes that were rejected in first place. So I mean, we know that peer review as it is performed now is not as reliable, but still we rely on the judgment of just a maximum of 3 peer reviewers to check the quality of our research. And once the paper is published in a brand name journals like Nature or the journals that we know, is regarded as as a marker of quality, is regarded as a top quality research paper. It's like more or less an ipse dixit, right? So the paper is published there, so no one can interact with it anymore, can provide feedback anymore. It's there, it's top quality, let's cite it, and that's it, right? But it's not reality. This is not reality. Many of the articles that are published never get cited, never. And the fact that they have been checked just by 3 peers, and when I say peers, I mean people from exactly the same environment of the authors. So if my paper is a psychology, deals with psychology, I will be checked more or less by 3 psychologists. I mean, they are the statisticians that in most of the cases spot the errors, right? And to find statisticians, maybe we need to go beyond just 3 peer reviewers, 3 peers, okay? And I can share with you some reference about this. There are some blog posts by Andrew Gellman that, in addition to being quite fun, they depict the reality as it is for real. So basically, we can say that we have this flawed quality check process. Why is it flawed? Because we cannot rely. I mean, we have the internet. We cannot rely anymore on just 3 at maximum 3 peer reviewers that they should try to figure out what will be the impact in the future, right? We have the internet. We can reach to much a bigger audience, you know, many more PhDs and more researchers in general. So I personally don't think at all that this is the best quality check process that we can provide with the internet. I mean, is exactly the same quality check process that 100 years ago was provided before the information era, the information revolution. Okay. What can we do to fix these problems? I mean, I've talked about 2 big problems in research, and what solution can we provide? We tried at the time. I mean, we are still 3 years ago. The project is more or less this old. We were trying to come up with a solution that could fix both these problems. And the solution is incredibly simple. Is extremely simple. And the last 20 years of the internet just taught us what was the solution. It was already there. The only thing that we provided, more or less, was the idea of a new object in research. So not just the research article, the academic paper as we know it, but we wanted to introduce the concept of definition. What's a definition? It's just, as I told you before, a building blocks that is used, an ingredient that is used in research. It can be the definition. Sorry, I come from medicine, so my example would be a bit you know, in that sense. But it can be, as I told you, the definition of a pathology, the definition of an evaluation criteria, criterion. It can be whatever, even the definition of open science, for example. As we will see later, we have on the platform some cool definitions of open science. So it can be really whatever you need for your study to be performed. So basically, we decided to ask researchers to compose all these definitions, all these building blocks. We asked them, and we are still asking them, to group, to cluster these definitions under the same caps. So imagine now all the definitions of quality of life. I told you 1,000 and enough different definitions of quality of life. Imagine all these definitions clustered together under the same cap, quality of life. And imagine now that we are asking the entire community to review and rate these building blocks, these definitions, so that for the first time in history, for real, we can provide the entire scientific community with a piece of information that now it doesn't have at all, which is what are the best building blocks, the best ingredients that I can use for my research paper. So that what we are doing is, for the first time, trying to improve not just the quality check. We will see later how we are doing that, but we are trying to improve T0. I mean, we are trying to improve the stage where research is produced. If I make my cake, in our case, my research study with the best ingredients, I must expect a better cake, right? If I use the top eggs and blah blah blah. I can see that Ibrahim raised his hand, so let me just see. I'm allowing Ibrahim to talk. Please, Ibrahim. Can you talk now? Ask to mute. You should unmute yourself, Ibrahim. To ask you a question. Ibrahim, can you talk? Can hear you now.
Hello,
maybe?
sorry, it was a mistake.
Okay.
It was a mistake, sorry.
No worries at all. No worries at all. So no worries. So let's go on. Sorry for that. So we are asking researchers to compose all these building blocks, these definitions. We are asking them to review and rate these definitions, so that, as you can see here in the slides, from the blue circle in the upper part of the slide, we go straight to the democratic evaluation circle, where what do we perform there? We ask researchers to review and rate definitions, not just definitions, as we will see, also articles, but we will see in a minute. And we ask them to provide a real ranking of definitions, so that they can use them to compose new research with top ingredients. So for T0, from the starting point, we can actually help researchers produce better research. Okay, I can see 2 questions. Sorry. Okay, it's not for us. So now that we can have now that we have the possibility to compose better research from the very beginning, we want also improve the ability for the scientific community to quality check research that's composed. So articles are now composed with top definitions, and we want to check again these.
Gabriele, my
Yes.
apologies for interrupting you. So can you please play your presentation in the full mode?
Yeah, of course. Sorry.
And the another one, there is one message in the chat. Would you please explain how this foundational work on definitions affect the traditional peer reviewing process of the research output, if it does?
Would you please explain how this foundational definition affects the peer review process? Yeah, it does. Okay. Let me explain it now. I'm going to explain it right now. Definitions are just a tool to compose from the starting point better research. Now that we have composed our research paper that really resemble as a layout a Wikipedia research, a Wikipedia article. So it has all these blue links inside, and behind these blue links there are just the definitions that have been chosen to compose that research paper. But a big difference with Wikipedia is the research team that has decided what's building blocks. I mean, from all the rankings that could browse and blah blah blah, the research team has decided what are the best definitions for the study that they are performing. Now we just repeat the process of asking again the entire scientific community to perform a peer review. Okay. So you can think of the review and rating of definition as a peer review process to the building blocks, so directly to the building blocks. Now we have in our hands the final research paper, right? So with these final research papers, we do the same. We basically ask again the entire community to review and rate these papers, so that we are just applying nothing more than an open post-publication peer review process. It is open because all the names are there displayed. It is a post-publication because just like a preprint archive, like bioRxiv, like arXiv, like the preprint service that you already know, the review process there is just a commenting on Qeios is a real review process, is post-publication. So first you share your research paper, then you get all the feedback that you need. And with the feedback, what you can do with the feedback is just updating the version of your research paper. It doesn't have an upper end. The process doesn't have an upper end. I mean, is limitless. As long as you get feedback, you can keep versioning your research study with all the feedbacks, with the feedback from the community. So we should expect, and we are already seeing it on Qeios, we should expect that the research paper is not checked by just 3 peer reviewers at maximum, but is checked by those 3 peer reviewers, in addition to all the other researchers that might want to contribute to that research, that piece of research, right? And with all that feedback, I can just version my paper. It's very, very simple. There already is a viable example in academic publishing of this process, I mean, is not completely like Qeios, just for the concept of open post-publication peer review, which is F1000 research. I'm not sure if you know it, but what we are doing differently from F1000 research, we are not asking for a limited amount of reviews. Any researcher can contribute. Is very, very similar to what is happening. This is why I was telling you that the last 20 years of the web has taught us how to design our platform. It's very, very much like all the tools that we are using every day on the web, from Amazon to Airbnb, anywhere where there is a community that interacts with some content. On Amazon, we have items, and any customer can provide feedback to those other items. And I want you to think of now, to go back to the definitions problem and think now of a real situation that we are experiencing in research, which is this one. Imagine on Amazon as an example that you want to buy a cover for your iPhone, okay? And you just type cover iPhone 7, for example. You end up with 50,000 results. 50,000 results. Imagine now to remove all the comments, all the ratings from these items, and what is left is just these items, and you should it's now your duty to try to discover which is the best one that you should buy, right? From 50,000 possibilities. This is exactly what is happening in research when choosing different definitions for your paper. I mean, is a cumulative in research we have a cumulative problem because we don't have so many variants for one single object, but in a research paper we do have tons, hundreds of definitions. If you break up a research paper in its components, we do have hundreds of definitions with dozens of variants. So the number of definitions that you need to choose is immense, is really huge. And what we do, we just rely, for example, on the definition from a research team that was published on a top journal, nothing more than that, regardless of the intrinsic quality of that definition. There is no feedback on these building blocks. There is no platform, there is no venue where we are actively discussing these building blocks. So basically, what we are doing is providing a venue for that, for clustering, for grouping all these different ingredients, these different building blocks, composing, I'm just rewinding, sorry, composing articles with these building blocks, with these definitions, and then we want those articles to be checked, not just by free peer reviewers, but by the entire scientific community. Anyone who wants to provide a piece of feedback, just an advice, a piece of advice on a research paper. We are already seeing it on Qeios with articles that have, for example, now 10 peer reviews, not just 3, but 10 peer reviews. So more than 3 times more. And peer reviews are not limited to just peers, but for example, in some papers, we do see statisticians or non-field related researchers that are commenting and providing useful, really useful feedback to this article. And what you can do is immediately, it's very, very simple, is really in seconds, publish a new version with all with all that feedback. And this process, and we are seeing, I'm just telling you, we are seeing pieces of research that went beyond the 10th version. Okay, they just keep updating their articles. We go back, and as a comparison, the traditional academic publishing process goes by just 3 peer reviews, and then that's it. It stays. The paper stays there forever until we publish another paper that is just a commentary to that one. But it might take, I mean, the entire process might take not weeks, not months, but years, and it can take even many years just to comment, to respond to that paper, and try to, you know, start a discussion on that definition. It goes on for years. So we want to make things much quicker, much more reliable, and we're just using all the tools that the internet is already providing us. So the final result that we want to see, and we are already in part seeing on Qeios, in part just because we have just started. I mean, the project, as I told you, is 3 years old, but that was just the conception of the idea. So for articles that have used definitions so far, we are already seeing this process of choosing precise definitions for the papers, so that when 2 papers deal with the same topic, we can much better compare them, so that at the very end of the process, the work of the systematic reviewer, that is the guy that has just to understand, his work is to try to understand which is the state of the art on a particular topic. The work of the systematic reviewer is much easier. So providing the general population with a univocal answer, or if not univocal, at least, you know, a limited set of answers, is much easier this way. Much easier this way. We want to see researchers to use reliable building blocks. And why reliable? Because the community, the entire community, is telling them that those building blocks are more reliable than others. Now we do not have that piece of information. So we want them to compose research papers this way. And we want, again, the community to keep providing feedback on the final product on these research papers, so that the authors can keep updating their papers. I want you to reflect on this. Something that we have seen, we have experienced with this pandemic, unfortunately. We have seen an amount of preprints that has never been published before. A preprint can be published immediately, and the feedback is provided later on, right? Rather than waiting for 6 months or even more to get published. And the feedback is not limited. You can get as many comments as you want on your paper. And what we have seen is that the final product, the final, let's say a preprint that has got like 20 comments, 50 comments, and so on, basically did not have many different, if not any, from the published version, because the peer review process was already done, not just by 3 peers, but by maybe 20 peers, 50 peers, 50 reviewers. Okay, so we are already seeing all these in action. What we are doing with Qeios is just formalizing all these in a much more robust manner, because we're not talking about comments like preprints, the comments sections of preprints, but we are talking about robust peer review facilities that we have on Qeios, so that researchers can have a tool, an editor, as we will see in a minute, for peer reviews, to compose peer reviews, to publish peer reviews, and so on. And the versioning takes seconds. You can really update your paper in seconds. This is just to reflect on which is maybe the future of the academic publishing system. Maybe is not as long as we have the internet, is not 3 peer reviewers, but 20, 50, 100 peer reviewers with a diverse set of skills and expertise. So this is how we see the future of research. This is how we want to see, the next level of the academic publishing industry. And we are just, taking some examples from, for example, the commercial world. As I told you, the big platforms that we are using every day. On Twitter, for example, even just on Twitter, you can get some comments on a thread that you can really start getting a real feedback on what you just said, right? Why don't applying the same principle to academic publishing? Why keep using, just want to stress this, why keep using an old system, okay, which is not, is not suited for the internet? It was the best that we could do before the internet era, but it's not at all the best right now. Here, let me see if I can play it. It's just a quick summary, quick video that summarizes
most of the
what I
research
just
is
said.
inconclusive. Finding univocal answers is nearly impossible. Why? Research production. Lack of communication among researchers brings them to the inability to select the right fundamental definitions when composing articles. Inconsistency between definitions is the unavoidable result, leading to articles incomparability and therefore research inconclusiveness. Quality check. Articles are submitted to scientific journals to be published. Their oligarchic system selects articles on the ability to foster journals' brand name rather than on actual quality, building acceptance rates as low as 10%. Despite this, journal's brand name is currently regarded as a marker of quality. What counts is where, rather than what, researchers publish. Qeios is a totally new integrated system of research production and quality check. Researchers connected on Qeios compose their articles along with the new object, the definition, directly on the platform. The definition is a new piece of knowledge which represents one of the building blocks at the base of research. With Qeios, democracy is the new standard. A 100% acceptance rate for articles and definitions becomes essential to allow the entire researchers community performing the most valuable quality check. For the first time, a ranking of definitions is built which determines what the best building blocks to be used in new research are. Researchers have now the power to produce and share new research of increased quality and comparability, greatly reducing the risk of inconclusiveness and thus fueling the entire virtuous circle. Not only Qeios assists researchers in producing the best possible knowledge, it also helps them find new collaborations, funds, and visibility, which is extended to anyone thanks to definitions. Connection between researchers have never been so powerful.
I'm just reading your comments now. Maybe someone has raised the end, so let me just see.
Gabriele, just one comment related to the playing a video. So when you, for instance, if you stop sharing your screen now and start it again, when you start sharing, there is the option to play sounds from the computer.
Okay, so the sound was not working?
Yeah, actually it works, but I think through your headphones somehow.
I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for that. But I can share, the video, I can share a link to the video later on, so anyone can see it again. I'm just reading but someone raised the hand, like, but I don't see it again. Question and answer. Nope.
There are some questions in the chat box.
Yep.
I noticed there is some also discussion, let's say. I noticed also that Manfredi took part in that discussion, which is great, because I think he's on similar line, and I would like also to invite the other attendees to listen Manfredi today later. You can find in the program who will talk about the deep use. And maybe you can read the questions in the chat box and maybe try to answer on some of them.
Okay. I'm reading now this question. What is that Qeios adds already established the open reviewing platforms such as Archive besides the work on the definitions? And how do you monitor the quality of the reviewing if it is that open? Thank you. Also, if the community reviewing the building blocks definitions order review the outputs, does this not create a dangerous self-reflective circularity between basic vocabulary categories and research? Thank you. Thanks so much for the question. What do we add to the work of Archive, bioRxiv, and so on? As you said in the question, Manuela, we do add all the work on definitions, but in addition to that, we are, as I said before, we are offering much stronger peer review facilities. So the comment section is actually not open. I mean, on Qeios is not called comment section, but it is a real section for peer reviews with facilities that help providing a thorough feedback. So you can, for example, upload files. You have exactly the same facilities that you have for creating a research article. So the peer review on Qeios is a facility dedicated to researchers. It's not open to the general public. So basically, you need to sign up for Qeios. You need an institutional email address or your ORCID ID, and you need therefore you need to be a researcher to sign up for the platform. So only researchers going on with the comparison with Archive, only researchers can provide feedback on a piece of research, on a definition, and blah, blah, blah. So this is a big difference. And this is also how we can tell that the quality of the commenting maybe is a bit higher than Archive, bioRxiv, and so on. So yes, there is no limits to the amount of peer review that the entire community can provide, but it is limited to the academic community. And again, the facilities are much we are also providing a synthetic that might sound as we are used to in other fields, and that might sound as something that cannot add much, but it definitely does. We have also provided a 5-star system where you can actually get an immediate summary of what the researcher can provide with this feedback. So I hope that I've answered to your question, Manuela. Probably is about deciding whether the submission beats. I'm reading the question by Manfredi. Pre-pub peer is about deciding whether better journals have higher thresholds. Post-pub peer is about the content of the paper. Is here what counts is the quality of the comments, not the volume. In economics, at least you are addressing a no problem. I can see that the problem, if you are referring to the problem of definitions, I can definitely see that is not, it doesn't involve in the same way different fields, but I can tell you that, for example, in medicine is huge, in the biomedical research, and for example also in, we do have some behavioral scientists on the platform that that really cheered us with this idea, because even just the definition of addiction, for example, is not at all a consensus definition at the moment. The definition of all the parameters that have been used so far in the behavioral science haven't get so much consensus. So there are many fields where this problem is really huge. And as I told you before, at the very end of the process, you're not able to provide univocal answers, or at least a limited set of answers. For this reason, that's huge. And consider that, just some figures, consider that the biomedical research amounts to 70% of the total amount of research that is published. So it covers a big stake of what is currently published in journals. And yes, to the regarding the quality of the comments, as I told you, guys, the comments are can be provided. I mean, the peer reviews can be provided just by researchers. Economics has looked bigger again. Necessary to your process. I'm reading the the comment by Vince. Economics has looked how ambiguity. Your process could fine-tune this definition in complex area. However, this is associated with a reduction of debate on the concepts and formation of groupings that become intrinsic and economics. Okay, I see your question definitely here, and consider this. Consider that how the process of creating consensus on definitions is working right now in the globe. You just publish a paper. You publish a paper, and you might want to publish your paper in a top journal to reach, to get an impact factor for your career and the stuff that we already know, and to get a wider audience and blah blah blah. To create, that commenting, that real-time commenting. I mean, there is no real-time commenting actually on that. To get some feedback on that piece of research that you have just published, you need to wait until the next research paper is published, and you need to wait for a paper that is published in at least similar journals in terms of metrics. Otherwise, they won't consider that piece of research regardless of the intrinsic quality, but they just will consider the initial paper that was published on a top journal. And yes, the process goes on like this. So it's very, very slow, and you just rely, if you want to cite some concepts, some entities, blah blah blah, from previous research. What you do is going on Web of Science, PubMed, and so on, and you will find most probably the definition. The paper that deals with the definition that was published on a top journal, okay? And there is no discussion, active discussion, real-time discussion on that. There is no way to do that. you really need, I mean, the discussion maybe is more active, not maybe, but we can say that with some empirical data that the discussion is much more active, for example, on Twitter, okay? But your review doesn't get a DOI. Your review is not considered a formal peer review. It's just a comment on a Twitter thread. So it doesn't have the same, weight that a peer review, an indexed peer review with a DOI and so on can have. So I hope that this answered the question. Is Qeios dedicated for social science or for all research field? One more. What do you do about plagiarism check? Okay, Qeios is not field specific at all. We do want it to be as inclusive as possible in terms of research fields, so that researchers can avoid groupthink and can get feedback from researchers that are not actually peers in the narrow sense of the term. So they don't necessarily come from the research field, but we want those researchers plus all the others, so that, for example, a medical doctor by training can provide feedback to a psychologist and vice versa, and so on and so on. So it's very cross disciplinary, is very open in this sense. Another question, sorry, what do you do about plagiarism check? Here we go. We want to use again the community to provide feedback even in that sense, so that we can have more eyes on the pieces of content that are published on Qeios. So there is a reporting system that researchers can get access to, where you can report any problem with a piece of research that was published. We follow the top guidelines that have been built during the recent years in terms of plagiarism, in terms of ethics, and so on. So we rely on the guidelines that COPE, for example, has provided, that other players has provided. So yes, the only thing is that we want to use again the community to perform also those checks. Another question by Manuela. One more question, sorry, a very practical one. Is there the option to activate an institutional account fee, or is it all, sorry, down to the individual researcher? Thank you. Good question. You can sign up as an individual researcher, and you can prompt us with a suggestion for your institution to get an institutional membership, for example, to get access to the entire set of features that Qeios have. So is something like ORCID, if you have some experience with that. I can hear you. No, I can hear someone maybe. Dragon, maybe. Sorry guys, I hear someone talking. It's just a noise in the background.
Sorry, my apologies for interruption. So Raish Kumur Das raised the hand, and we allowed him to speak. He unmuted himself. So Raish, do you have any comment, question? You can speak
okay,
now.
Sorry for that.
No. Actually, I'm hearing the session. I'm enjoying this session.
Oh, maybe just a mistake.
Okay, Raj, then we are going to mute you, and then we will continue with other questions. Sorry.
Okay.
So you can immediately sign up with your ORCID or with your institutional email address. And again, if you want to get, I mean, for now, there is no need for a membership plan for Qeios to use the entire set of tools, because we do have some features that require a membership, and for the single researchers is a $9.99 per month membership to use the entire set of features. What we want to go is towards institutional membership a la ORCID. So that an institution can provide the entire corpus of the researchers with the entire set of features that Qeios delivers. So yes, if you are interested in unlocking unlocking these features, you can definitely send us an email, info@qeios.com. And we can get in touch with your institution, and we can create a partnership with that institution so that they can sign up for the membership and you can get access to the entire set of features. It's very, yeah, I was telling you about ORCID. ORCID does use the same approach. They ask institutions to sign up for the membership, so that they can cover all the costs that the platform has. Another comment from Vince. Thanks, very useful bit in emphasis on definition for me foundation of work. Could you flag association of particular definition with particular research groups or journals to flag contested areas? If you are asking, Vince, about how I can find definitions related to a particular field in Qeios, the answer is pretty easy. We have built a tagging system where any definitions on Qeios can be tagged with anything that the authors could think of that was useful to find that piece of knowledge, the definition. So, for example, a definition from psychology can be tagged as psychology, as behavioral science, as addiction, as whatever you like. The same for any other field. So it's very easy to find definitions on Qeios. And one more thing, we have an AI that helps a lot with the clustering of the definitions, so that when you publish a new definition on the platform, it automatically gets clustered in the same in the right cluster, in the right group. So if you publish a definition of open science, it gets immediately clustered under the open science cap. And the same works for any other definitions. So it's very easy. It's much like I'm not sure if you know, guys, the Urban Dictionary is a pretty fun platform for English slang, and the approach is very similar to the Urban Dictionary. So you have a term and all the variants of the term just attached to that term, so that you can have the entire list immediately there with all the feedbacks. It's very straightforward. Manfredi, I cannot speak for biomedical research, but in economics, to review a paper, especially for a group that takes a minimum of half a day of serious work, comments are a different category altogether. Who are these qualified researchers who are willing to spend days of reviewing for Qeios? Thanks so much for the question. We are already seeing a great engagement in terms of peer reviews on the platform. Consider that the dignity that we are we are giving to the peer review object is exactly the same that an article has. So you get a DOI for your peer review, and you can use that in the future. And some researchers are already using them for your career assessment, career advancement, and so on. So you get a DOI for your piece of knowledge, for the piece of knowledge that you have provided, and that piece of knowledge is automatically indexed by some platforms, for example, by OpenAir that we are working with. They are indexing all the content that is published on Qeios in terms of definitions, articles, and peer review, and they are all well connected together. Sorry, because your definitions get a DOI, your definitions are inserted in a research paper that gets a DOI again. So that DOI points to the definitions, and you can graph all these. The peer reviews are attached to both definitions and articles. So it's all incredibly connected. And when a researcher is searching for a research paper, can be very, very interested in all the reviews, in reading all the reviews from colleagues, in saving them, in citing them. You can cite, consider that you can cite a peer review. A peer review gets a DOI, a definition gets a DOI. You can cite them the same way that you cite an article. So it's very, very, it has the ability, and we have seen that, it has the ability to increase the visibility. Talking about perks for researchers, it has the ability of increasing the visibility of the single researcher, of the individual researcher. Consider that definitions and peer reviews, in addition to articles, get an automatic score. So when you share them, and when people share them on social media, that score goes up. So you can be discovered for your definitions, for your peer reviews. They're not anymore pieces of information that are trashed by journals. They are pieces of information with a dignity. Miriam, I'm concerned as I'm afraid this is time consuming, and I'm not sure that are available qualified researchers in my field, computer science, that will be willing to spend time reviewing published papers, especially that tech-related fields are growing so fast, and we are barely find enough time to keep up with what was already peer-reviewed. Okay, same here. What I can tell you is that we are experiencing a great level of engagement in terms of peer reviews, and for the reasons that I already told you. And regarding quality, we do believe that even if there is one, bad review, bad in terms of quality of the comment provided to that piece of paper, you can have as much as 20 good peer reviews, well-performed peer reviews on a piece of paper. As long as you increase the number of peer reviews, you should expect a better feedback. And I can share some great references on this, and is actually what we're already seeing in the commercial world, right? If you want to buy something, or if you want to go on vacation and you're looking for an Airbnb apartment, you are likely to go to the one that has more reviews, right, than just 1 or 0 reviews. And yes, it's the same principle here. We are applying that principle, and it's the same principle that Wikipedia, for example, is applying, and incredibly, and there is open to anyone, literally anyone, and is working incredibly well in that. I mean, considering also that setting, right? So yes, we do believe that that the more eyes you have on a piece of paper, the better will be the feedback. We do believe that. Manfredi, Aneta, I'm reading the question by the comment by Aneta. Manfredi, maybe one don't need to read papers just for review. Read papers anyway, also papers similar topics, similar methodology. So comments, however, I do agree that this probably won't take a form identical to a formal peer review. Regarding, I do agree that this probably won't take a form identical to a formal peer review. There are some examples on the platform that really provide the same information, if not even I mean more accurate, because it was not asked by a journal to perform a peer review, but it came from a decision of yours, right? So you just wanted to provide a feedback, a great feedback, and you did provide that, and people are working that way. And consider that from a peer review, sometimes there is a thread that starts immediately, a rebuttal with the authors in the comment of the peer review, so that you have the possibility to discuss with the authors in real time. Is not something that is happening behind the scenes, and that's really an important thing. But is really something that is open and happening in real time. So it's very useful and open in this sense. Is this clustering visualized somewhere? Could be very useful. If this question is by Vince, is something like, are we building some graph of these clusters and how they interact with each other? We're not doing this at this time, but we are working with OpenAir for graphing all the connections between the objects that are published on Qeios. But what I can tell you is that clusters, as I was saying before, are organized in the Urban Dictionary manner. So you have a very browsable group of definitions, all displayed there under the same cap. Is very easy. If you have 20 definitions of open science, and for example, we do have some definitions of open science on the platform, you have these 10, 20 definitions under the same group, and you can immediately see with the 5-star rating system which are the one with the top rating, which are the one that have been reviewed the most, and so on and so on. And by the way, regarding the definition of open science, for example, that is another great example of a missed consensus on a definition. We do not have one single local, or at least a podium of definitions of open science. We have so many, and we're not providing enough discussion on these definitions, so that we can decide, okay, these are maybe a bit better in this point of time, because definitions change over time. As they change, you can publish new ones, and the process is much quicker than what is happening right now. As I told you before, the process right now goes like this: you publish a paper with a definition that is meant to define something new, and you need to wait for someone to publish another paper on that, which is just maybe a commentary on the paper, and so on and so on, and it can take years. And at the same time, a great reliable. I'm not sure how many of you guys are using Twitter, but a great, a great and open and valuable discussion is happening, for example, on social media like Twitter. But there again, you are limited to the amount of words. You don't get a DOI and blah, blah, blah. But there are valuable, really valuable discussions out there. Manuela, I think I have more questions. Is your content full text and metadata indexed by any aggregator? Do you have automatic badges and or any bibliometrics analytics? What metadata schema do you refer to for the outputs you host? What PADs do you use? Thank you. We do are indexed. We are indexed by Google Scholar. And as I told you before, any content on Qeios is indexed. Any content with a DOI is indexed by Google Scholar, by ORCID, as I told you. We are archived by the British Library, by Portico, and we are expanding our discoverability. And yes, but we think that even just, we are living in a period where we cannot really rely just on Web of Science, right? Because that excludes also, for example, and we are seeing it right now with this pandemic, that excludes, for example, all the preprints, all the papers that are not indexed there. So we should go much, much broader, right? I mean, consider that the amount of knowledge that is published right now is around 3 million papers per year, is already a huge amount, and the huge amount needs to be, filtered somehow. And filtering 3 millions rather than 2 millions doesn't make much a difference, right? So it's not a real problem of discoverability in going from Web of Science to Google Scholar. It just depends on the algorithm that they use to index stuff, but it's not that you find it's more, it's more targeted on Web of Science, for example, for your needs. It's not that way. I mean, we have already reached a point where the amount of information is huge. Doesn't matter if you're using any more Web of Science or Google Scholar. So what we want to focus on is to be discoverable on reliable searching tools like Google Scholar in first place. And then go on with any other archive or server that might be useful for the researchers. And for example, as I told you, we're partnering with OpenAir, but that goes beyond just discoverability as a search engine like Google Scholar, but we want to graph all the content that is published on Qeios. Yes, we do have, sorry, Manuela, we do have automatic badges, and we have them, as I told you guys before, for all the free types of content that are published on the platform. So articles, definitions, and peer reviews. What metadata, sorry, who owns the copyright? Do you license? Okay, another question by Manuel. Miriam, thank you for giving me to sign up myself and give it a try. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Miriam. Vince, thanks. What is the IPR situation? Was the content? Do you license it? Yeah, of course. Content on the platform is licensed under, is released under a CC BY license, so 4.0. So we do not own any of the content that is published on the platform. The authors own the entire content. What we are doing is just providing an infrastructure for publishing new research. It's much like, you know, you can think of it as a medium for science, right? Where you self-publish your research. You own the content, and you can start immediately a discussion with all your colleagues on the topic on the questions that you have raised with your research paper. So it's very, very, I mean, of course, we are going beyond the old copyright system. Of course, everything is owned by the community. Any other question, or anyone who wants to talk, maybe to raise a question? Okay, so if you are still interested in what I've said so far, I can show you. Let me show you my screen. I can show you. This is what I'm going to show you now is just the test platform. So it's pretty much empty. I mean, we use that platform for developing the software. So I'm not sure if can you guys confirm that you see the screen that I'm sharing? You see it, right? Okay, beautiful. Great. So basically, so as I told you, this is the test platform. So it's pretty much empty. And sorry, this part. Okay, it's pretty much empty, but it can be useful to show you guys the workflow on Qeios, which is, I mean, we have really worked hard to make the UX as simple as possible, so that you can share your research, your definitions, and your peer review as fast as possible. So let's say that we want to start the composition of a research paper with some definitions in it, right? So I'm gonna firstly compose a new definition. So guys, you can see how it works. This is the questions that is asked when I click on compose new definition. Is this definition original? What does this mean? It means that we want also to import the entire amount of definitions that have already been published by the academic community, by the scientific community so far in history, okay? And in case you want to bring into Qeios an existing definition, you can just click on no, okay, and continue. If it's already existing out there in a research paper or somewhere else, it's very, very useful. But let's say that I've just created a new concept or a new variant for a definition of, for example, open science, let's say, and they want to share this new definition with colleagues. So I'm gonna create, sorry, this definition. Open science is and blah blah blah. As I told you before, guys, I can add some tags to my definition so that it's much more discoverable, because I can follow tags. So by following tags, I can just see in my own page, in my feed, all the authors and all the research that might be of interest for me. So basically, I just, let's say that declarations is important. I mean, we want authors to have the possibility to disclose any potential competing interests for the content. These includes definitions, articles, and peer reviews. Then I can just go on with the publication process. So you're about to confirm this. I just confirm my definition. It will not be editable after confirming. Consider guys that the definition, as any other pieces of content on Qeios, they get a DOI. So once you publish them, the only way to remove the content is by retracting it. So by doing a formal retraction. So be aware that you're ready to publish your definition. If you've done something, some mistakes, or if you want to do some amendments to your definition, you can just create a new one with a new version. All definitions and articles are versionable. This is extremely useful. You can create as many versions as you want. We already checked our declarations section. I go on, I confirm my definition, and then it just asks me to publish it. Why there is this confirming stage and publishing stage? Because I might want to use this definition, as I'm going to show you now, guys, in a paper before sharing the definition as a standalone object, right? So I want to use this definition in a paper. This is under a confirming state. So I might want to use this definition in a new paper and share both of them together. So I just pressed new article. So I just want to create a new article regarding open science. So let's go on. Open science is, and here I want to use the definition of open science that I've just created. I just click on define, search for definition of open science that I've just created. And what I see here are all the definitions of open science that have been published in our test platform, okay? So this is not published, guys, so I'm not going to find the definition there, but here, confirm draft. I want to use this definition here and go on with my paper, right? When I'm all ready, I can use tags also here. We do have two classes of tags. The tags for articles, we are here in article mode, and tags for definitions. I can add a cool cover picture for my paper. I can add data if I want to. Okay, it's very, very simple. I can add any kind of data that you might want to share with readers, and I can just publish this straight away. But let me show you just one more thing. This is very, very useful. I can reference very, very quickly just by searching for some paper on the web. Okay, Jack Sparrow, that's fine. I go on with my paper, so I can create my references list very, very quickly. It's very, very useful. And then I can publish my paper straight away, as you've seen before. And this is a cool thing. This is a cool thing, guys. You're about to publish this article. Just publish my article as is, or label my article as preprint, please. What does this mean? It means that if you want to keep the option of further submitting your research article to a traditional journal, you can do that, because we know that for your career purposes, for your, I mean, in your assessment setting, you might need an impact factor or any other any other metrics, right? So I can definitely label my article as preprint if I want to, okay, and keep the option as I told you. It means that I'm just sharing a preprint like on archive and so on, and keep the option of further submitting it to a journal, and I can go on with the publication. So I've just published my paper. So the paper is published. The paper is published. It has a definition in it. Okay. So I'm just opening this definition. It just opens a new tab. I can read this definition here, and this is the article. Imagine a full paper with an abstract and a real body and blah blah blah. And here, as you can see, as I told you guys, we are in test mode, so you're not going to see an automatic score, but you are going to have it if you share this article on social media, or if it's shared on news and blah blah. You will see it here, and it works the same for definitions, right? So we have an automatic score there as well, and I can review this article, okay, just by clicking on review article. Let me see if we have something that has been reviewed here. For example, this is a definition, for example, by the National Cancer Institute. It means that, if you remember, guys, this is a non-original definition because it was originally described in this way by the National Cancer Institute, and as you can see, Einstein has just reviewed our definition like this, okay, and you can get as many reviews as you really as the platform can hold for your papers, and also for your definitions. So I've just published this as a preprint. I can, as I told you before, I can, if I get some feedback, some review, I can create a new version for this article. You're going to create a new version of OpenSend, blah blah, and let me show you guys. And I can go on with amendments that someone might have suggested, and I can publish a second version for this article immediately. I can now decide if publishing again as a preprint, so it is just one more version for my preprint, or as a final article. Final, I mean, the word final doesn't mean much on Qeios, because you can keep updating your article like limitless. But let's go on with labeling it as a preprint, and then I just published a second version, right, guys? And what we are seeing is researchers that come to the platform, publish in really in a couple of minutes some paper, because they have just signed up, so they might have the manuscript already there in Microsoft Word or any Pages or any other editor. They just copy paste here, they go on, but just as I show you, just by pressing publish, and they get published immediately. And you guys, you get a DOI, you get instantly a DOI, and this paper can be reviewed, cited, whatever, shared anywhere. As I told you, is written down here. We are indexed in Google Scholar, so as soon as you share something, it's indexed like any preprint is indexed, like archive by archive, blah blah. And yes, you can just self-publish yourself. As I told you, is you can think of it as a medium for science. Let me just, I think that we are almost done for today. Let me just see this one more question. Publish another in, say, Annals of Surgery. Can I publish on Qeios? Except perhaps yes,
so,
please.
Excuse me for interruption. Yeah, we are close to the end of this session for your
training. Yep.
The second, I have one brief question. Is it
possible
yes, please. To group article in this platform, meaning, let's say, to publish that in some way of conference proceedings, to say all those papers are related to this conference? Or can we define, like, for instance, that conference as a
you can
and then link the definition?
Okay, you can definitely use the tagging system. You can tag, for the example, with create a tag with the name of the conference, and by pressing that tag, I can show you now, guys. By pressing that tag, what happens is that you just see in this case, it's just this definition, but imagine that the results can be really the tons of the definitions of open science, tons of articles regarding open science, and you can just create a new tag with that name, and you immediately create the possibility to see a group of papers on that topic, a group of definitions on that topic. It's very, very straightforward. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. So related to the other questions, I mean, you can spend some more time here on answering the questions. Now we have a time for break, which is, let's say, for the lunch for the people coming from the Europe. But of course, if some of the attendees would like to stay here to discuss with you, I'm not against that. But
okay, beautiful.
Yeah, just any information. So for all attendees. So I hope, thank you very, very much, of course, for joining us at this training session as well as the previous one, and hope to see you again at 45 minutes past 1 at Central European Summer Time. So this, let's say, break is for the lunch for people coming from Europe, but maybe from some of you it's a break for breakfast or for the dinner. Of course, you can stay with us here in the call. You can chat with Gabri, or Gabri can just write the responses to your comments, your questions here in the chat box, whatever you would like, of course. And officially, we will be back in an hour. But you can stay if you want, of course. And Gabri, of course, thank you very much. It was very interesting, and I noticed there were a lot of questions actually, which is.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, really. I just want to reply to Manfredi. I published an article in, say, Annals of Surgery. Can I publish on Qeios excerpts so as to get comments on feedback? The answer is definitely yes. It means that you can just copy paste the definition on Qeios and publish it. And what happens is this. I can show you guys right now. What happens is exactly this. So this is a case of non-original definition, or if you do enough amendments to consider that, or to consider that a new definition, you can publish it as an original definition. But let's just consider for now that this is a real copy paste from an existing article to a definition on Qeios. So your example was about was about the definition. Let's say the definition of stent, for example. Okay, you will just need to find the source here by DOI, for example. Your article in Annals of Surgery should have a DOI, right? You just copy paste your. Let me show you guys let's go to PubMed 1 second. you just copy paste your DOI here. Sorry for the time. I think that Zoom is just taking a big stake of the connection. So let's search for example, stent. Let's just, for example, copy paste this DOI here. Okay, this is the paper. These are the authors of the paper. You just confirm them if they are all okay. You can, if you are, for example, if you are one of these author, you will find yourself here, okay, and then you can just confirm. And this is important. You should just check if the paper has an open license, so a Creative Commons license, and if it has it, you just select this, you continue, go on, you're ready to publish your definition, and you confirm, and then you publish your definition. So let me just show you again. You just confirm and you publish it immediately. So your definition is now published. You can copy the link of this definition. You can email your colleagues. You can share it on Twitter or whatever, and you can start a valuable discussion down here. Anyone can peer review down here. Any colleague. And instead, if you choose, I mean, license info, if you choose a license which is not open, the only requirement that you have is that you need to use this definition in a new paper on Qeios. Why is that? Because for copyright restrictions, just because if it's not under a Creative Commons license, it's owned by the journal, for example, or any other entities, you need to use this definition in the same way that you would use a citation. So you can definitely copy paste, you can quote something that was said is in a research paper just by citing it, right? Is the same with definitions. So if it's under a Creative Commons license, you can publish it straight away, immediately. You can share it like immediately. If it's not, you just need to use this definition as I showed you before. You just confirm that definition, and you cannot press on publish, but you are required to use that definition, that confirmed definition, in a new paper, okay? And then you publish the paper with the definition in it, just like the paper, or if you want to label it as a preprint, the preprint, just like as we did before. So basically, the result is gonna be like this, very, very simple. The definition is gonna be published along with the new article. So I hope I've answered your question. Prante, is it possible to put all individual chapters of an edited book, or is it only for journal articles? Okay, that's a good question. We do not limit the possibility of publications in terms of what type of publications can be published on Qeios. we don't limit them with, for example, just original articles or systematic review and blah blah. We do allow researchers to publish anything related to research that might be useful, that might be put in an article manner, like with an abstract, with a proper body and so on, and that respects all the guidelines that COPE regarding with ethics, copyrights infringement, and so on. That platforms like COPE as provided. So you can definitely share your chapters. But for example, what we do not allow is the problem of a double publication. So if, for example, these chapters are already in a book under which is protected by copyright and so on, you should not publish it on Qeios, because it's not a repository for already published research, but for new research, which can be, I mean, in the form of a non-traditional academic article, okay, or academic original article, as some journals requires, but yes, at least it should be something that have not been published as an article somewhere else, and this follows the guidelines by COPE, for example, to avoid the double publication problem and so on. So you can, if you are preparing, for example, a book, you can definitely share your book if you revise it as articles, okay, on Qeios. But if it's already published, you couldn't do that. No worries. No worries, Pandra. Manuela, can you export the paper as PDF? Yes, of course. Let me show you. You should just press the three dot menu here and you download the PDF. So it's pretty easy. And okay, this is the test platform, so it's not rendering the PDF properly. But if you just go on the platform, you search from the search bar on top on the actual platform. You search from the search bar. I can show you guys actually. From the search bar on top, something. Or just 1 second. Sorry for the same connection problem. Okay, for example, if I open this article, if you try from your computer, it's going to be much quicker. This is an actual article that has been published on the platform. Here you can see the entire version history of the article. As you can see, it got some quite wide visibility in terms of altmetrics, in terms of views and downloads. 600 downloads for this article, and yes, you can download the PDF like this, very simple. And what you see is a classic PDF for your paper. Very simple. I hope I have answered Question, Manuela. Another one from Manuela. If the author publishes the output as a preprint, do they get a DOI anyway? Thanks. Of course they do. Of course they do. It's like on bioRxiv. I'm not sure if Archive now provide DOIs, but we do. It's like with bioRxiv, you definitely get a DOI when you publish it as a preprint, and any version of your article gets a DOI. So if you want to cite, for example, as a final user, you want to cite a particular version of an article, you can do that. You can do that pretty easily by copy pasting the DOI. It's very, very simple. Any other questions so far? I think we are done. And I just wanted to thank you guys for, I really would like to see a metadata schema if you have one. I can, how can I share it with you? You could go, is the metadata for any output? I should check with our dev team if is it downloadable from anywhere on the website. I'm from the reading page, the one you're seeing right now. I can tell you that it's not, but maybe you can find it somewhere else. If you go to OpenAir, for example, and you search for any content that is indexed there, you will find all the information regarding metadata, for example, that you love to see. But I can, if you can just drop in your email, Manuela, privately. I can share with you some more information regarding that. Oh yes, for sure. Yeah. In fact, we, sorry, I'm replying to Manuela again. I can confirm that we are following the cross-ref scheme, and yes, we are complying with all the requirements. And we have also started a conversation with Crossref to actually to make the metadata better for peer reviews. They're not still, you know, ready. I mean, they are working on that, ready on a great scheme for metadata regarding peer reviews, but they are going to improve that, and we're working with them on that. So yes, definitely, we do follow all the cross-ref schema and guidelines. Another question: if authors publish as preprint, can it get impact factor with the paper? Of course. I mean, if you later submit your preprint to a journal, it's just like a regular submission. Journals do accept preprints now, so you can just share it as a preprint and then forward your manuscript as always to your journal, to your preferred journal, and then once it gets published, you will get all the metrics that journal provides. So the answer is definitely yes. Any more questions? Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I think that's it for now. Manuela, I'll be waiting for your email. So that I can send you some more information if you want regarding metadata, definitely. And beautiful. If you want to email me even directly, I can show you. I can share with you guys my email, so you can just drop an email here, and I will be more than pleased to answer to all of you. Did you get my email, Manuela? I think so, right? From me to
Yes, Gabriel, you send your email to Manuel.
sorry guys. Let me. How can I share it with everyone?
When you are sending your
okay,
chat box.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, now it's sent to all attendees.
Beautiful. Sorry, guys. Okay, I think we are done for now, right? So thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening. I wish you all a great week, and please do send me an email with all the questions that you might have, all the doubts that you might have regarding what I said, regarding the platform, and I'll be very much pleased to answer you all. Okay, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. Thank you very much. It was really interesting.
Thanks so much again.
Yeah.